My name is Kyla Sharp, and I completed my capstone project on embedded programs within the school-based setting. I focused on three different components of embedded programs. Through a systematic review, I looked at proper protocol for intervention as well as appropriate intervention. Through a facility case study, I looked at implementation and perceptions of therapists. To dive into my systematic review, the aim of my study was to examine the literature on how embedded programs within the school setting address and affect self-regulation. My clinical question was, within the school-based setting, what is the evidence for school-based embedded interventions within the scope of occupational therapy to address self-regulation? When looking at the methods, my inclusion criteria was school-based setting, 6 to 18 years old, within the scope of occupational therapy. The articles were published between the years of 2009 and 2019. They were peer-reviewed, English, and in full text. There were 5 articles included in my final review. 3 of the 5 studies indicated that mindfulness training improved self-regulation. The key components for embedded program interventions focusing on self-regulation are mindfulness training interventions that focused on particularly breathing techniques and mindfulness yoga. They completed daily interventions, so 5-day school week, and the minimum intervention time was 12 minutes per week. So this is saying that with 12 minutes per week, there were still benefits seen when these programs were being utilized in this setting. Now I'll talk about my doctoral experience. I completed my doctoral experience at Sendero Therapies Incorporated, which is a privately owned and operated practice in Northeast Ohio that provides occupational and physical therapy services in the home, school, and community-based settings. Rebecca Moeller is the owner of Sendero Therapies Incorporated, and she completed her education at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, and she has been practicing as an occupational therapist for over 20 years. During my time there, I assisted in all areas of school-based practice, including treatments, evaluations, discharges, team and parent meetings, and I also met with school staff regarding future implementation planning for embedded programs. My experience there really focused on positive mental health and future implementation of programs and planning. I completed various activities while I was there, and I worked in 3 different schools. I worked at a private Catholic school, a private charter STEM school, and a public school. I feel like working at these 3 different schools gave me a good overarching view of school-based therapy. I completed evaluation team reports, individualized education programs, and response to intervention programs. I incorporated embedded programs myself, and I worked on various projects, including handwriting and literacy presentation, literature reviews, response to intervention materials, and educational handouts for staff. During the transition to telehealth therapy, I created a guide for therapists to use to help work through this transition period. With my facility case study, as you'll see on the right-hand side, I created a survey. This was comprised of 18 questions that I distributed via email to all 38 of Sendero Therapies Incorporated employees. I got 33 responses on my survey. All of the employees at Sendero Therapies have been trained on embedded programs through the Every Moment Counts conference. Every Moment Counts is a positive mental health initiative designed by Dr. Sue Basic, which has various embedded programs on this site that can be implemented into the school setting. Knowing that all of the therapists employed by this company have been trained on embedded programs, only 62.5 of them are incorporating these programs within the district they provide services. 62.5% of those people who are embedding these programs are not collecting data. But 94% thought, well, they agreed or strongly agreed that these programs were beneficial to school staff. So in summary, we're believing that they are beneficial, but we're having trouble implementing them. Some barriers I found were time constraints, limited school staff support and buy-in, and billing concerns or uncertainties. Moving forward, these barriers should be addressed, and uniform implementation methods and data collection need to be implemented. And thank you for listening. Now I will go into some questions that I have regarding my capstone experience. So how might the therapist provide education regarding our services? During my time there, I completed handouts, and it was, what is school-based occupational therapy and what are the services we can provide? And I gave those to the staff and teachers there, just to give them a quick overview. Also, if I went into the classroom, a lot of times I saw that they thought that we were handwriting specialists within this setting, and I would advocate for other services within our scope of practice. If I felt, a kid on my caseload would benefit from something other than handwriting, I would talk to the school teacher about that so that they knew that we could do more than just one intervention within this setting. And then also, in terms of education regarding embedded programs and what they are, I think in-service training is a beneficial way to teach school staff about the embedded programs and give them an initial introduction to these programs. The next question is, who is to carry out these programs? Since we are providing these in-service trainings to school staff and hoping that they will adopt these programs and stick to these programs, a consult model can be used in this situation to help with carryout and provide more insight on interventions within these embedded programs. The third question is, self-regulation can oftentimes have varied definition. How did you define this term for the purpose of your inclusion criteria and systematic review? Bandura in 1996 actually wrote an article to find a uniform definition of self-regulation, knowing that there are varied definitions for this term. His term focused on using thoughts, feelings, and actions to achieve a goal. So I looked at thoughts, feelings, and actions to achieve the goal of school-based occupations. And then I used this definition throughout my systematic review and doctoral experience and capstone project. So thank you for listening.